If another member of the church sins against you, go and point out the fault when the two of you are alone. If the member listens to you, you have regained that one. But if you are not listened to, take one or two others along with you, so that every word may be confirmed by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. If the member refuses to listen to them, tell it to the church. And if the offender refuses to listen even to the church, let such a one be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. Truly, I tell you, whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Again, truly, I tell you, if 2 of you agree on earth about anything you ask, it will be done for you by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there among them. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
This last Friday, we once again participated at Carroll University's activity fair, which was a beautiful day for it to happen because we were out on the quad. All the churches had their tables, the different student activities, community services, and there were tons of students. And Dale Morgan, Carolyn Gillespie, and I were there, and we had bags with our new logo on it, which you can have one. They're fantastic. And then we had tons of homemade baked cookies. Homemade baked cookies. As I was out in front of the table in my kilt, because it draws the eye, I was telling the students, come, get a bag, because they were like carrying around a bunch of stuff, and they're like t-shirts, free mugs, it's like the swag fest. They're getting so much stuff. And so they needed a bag. So the evangelist's idea of a bag was perfect. So they got the bag, and then I said, but then you got to get some cookies. Oh, we don't need any cookies. I've been going to the gym. I don't need any. I'm a student trying not to gain weight. But these are homemade cookies. Well, they're okay, but I don't really need homemade cookies made by your adopted grandmas. And then they looked over at Dell and Carolyn, and they just melted, and they said, okay. So we have tons of cookies that we gave out. There was a lot of freshmen. We knew the freshmen because all the freshmen had these little cards, and they had to go around to different tables and get them marked by the different people that were there at the activity fair. So you had to get like 4 spiritual life marks and a couple of social services, academic services, and all that. And then once they had their card fully marked off, then they got to be placed in for a raffle. And I was telling them that I heard by rumor it was possibly a new car, but who knows? So that made them really eager to get their card punched. But with the card, we knew who the freshmen were. The ones that were new to campus. The ones who, they're just barely here. They're just kind of moved in. They're starting to make some relationships in the dorm. They're starting to get an idea of what college is like. They're looking at this great festival, which is fun because they get a lot of stuff, but it's also kind of unsettling. We had students that were freshmen that were coming from all over the world. Literally, all over the world. Some from Vietnam, some from South Korea, some from Illinois. It is a different country. And you could tell they were eager to engage, but also there's just that little part of them that I recognized in their eyes because I've been there too, as probably many of you. There's just that little hint of, this is new, this is scary, I don't know what to do next. And just the fact of being there in this crowd, in the quad, with a bunch of people that they don't know, that is bravery and that is courage. It's a new beginning for those freshmen. It is a new chapter in their life. It is a new point where everything in their future is unfolding. And there's so much potential. And they know it. And part of the excitement and the opportunity is also kind of scary and it's filled with challenges. Because you got to make a grade to stay in college, do you not? I know that from my freshman year in college. All of us go through some point of a new life beginning. And it's challenging, and it's scary. And there will be people in that new chapter that we meet that, we will see them and we'll talk with them, and then it's just everything clicks, it's great chemistry, and you're bound for life. Or you have that situation where that first person that you meet, you get off on the wrong foot, and it's just conflict after conflict after conflict. When we start new points in our life, we are usually entering into a new community. Like if you start a new job, you're actually it's like the first day of school again. I mean, you're going in, there's a new situation, it's new people, new opportunities, new challenges. And then you also got to learn about the people, because in school, in work, in church, wherever you are, you're going to have to deal with people. Right? And so you're either going to get along famously, or mostly famously, or I can tolerate you, or you just can't get along for some reason, or many reasons. So in these different forms of community that we find ourselves, we usually have to figure out how we are going to deal with the conflict. How do you deal with conflict? How do you manage conflict? Because wherever 2 or 3 are gathered, that is a community. And wherever 2 or 3 are gathered as a community, there will eventually be conflict. Even if it's a matter of your housemate and they ate all the bread and you were hoping for toast in the morning. I will never forgive my fraternity brother for that. But if we're expected, we are built as human beings to live in community. We are designed, we are made in the image of God, and as Christians, we believe in the Trinity. And the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, they are interconnected, interdependent. They are a community. And so we are designed and made and blessed to live in community. Even if it is just you and another person, you and your spouse, or within the greater community like this, or in all of Waukesha, all of Wisconsin, all of the United States, all of the world, we are interconnected, interdependent, and we are a community. And stuff will happen. And that's where Jesus is talking today in the gospel about what do you do when you have a conflict in your community. What do you do when you and one of your members of the community, which hopefully is a beloved community, what do you do when you and your sister or your brother...
Why are you pointing at me?
Because you're always my good foil.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll have a conflict about dogs and cats. Okay. You're going to preach with me one of these days, Paula.
I can't wait.
All right. So what does Jesus say? If you have a conflict, if something happens, if that word sin that's in the gospel, that the Hebrew translation of that means when there is a broken relationship between you and God, you and another person, you and even your own self. So when there is some kind of broken relationship, that this relationship is not right, it's missed the mark, then you need to do everything that you possibly can to reconcile. Because that is the mission that Jesus was given to us for, that God became incarnate in Jesus, was to help reconcile the world to God. And in this small way, whenever we have our own conflicts, with each other, just one-on-one, this is that one small opportunity where you can participate in God's mission for reconciling the world, all things, to God's self, as St. Paul says. So, striving to reconcile with another person, you are participating in the mission of God. And you are blessed and equipped to do that. And as Jesus says, go to that person in private, talk to them, reason with them. Help manage the conflict. Everything won't be solved in just one discussion, but just keep going at it. But if it just is not happening, then Jesus says, then take 2 or 3 people. Bring parts of the community together to help. Because, there are some times where we need help in order for us to listen and hear each other. And having a third party, 2 other people, is very helpful to clarify and also make sure that we're playing well together in our conversations. It's not helpful if you're trying to reconcile and you're calling each other names. And that's where the outside parties help keep you on track. But if that doesn't help, if that doesn't work, and the conflict is still not working out, then Jesus says, then call in the church, the ecclesia. Bring in this greater community. Bring in the society, the greater community, to help hold you up and help negotiate, to find a common center so that there is peace in the community. Because if there is not peace between 2 people, then there is no peace in the greater community. Now, the next part that Jesus says is somewhat comforting and is also unsettling. Jesus says that wherever 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there with them. I am there with them. That sounds great, knowing that Jesus is with us. Jesus is with us now. Jesus is always with us. As he said, I will never leave you. He is with us. So when we're doing great things and things that we're very happy about, yay, Jesus is here so he can see what we're doing. When we are personally struggling with something, great, Jesus is there, helping us. But what if we are not being the best humans we can be, and we know that Jesus is with us? What if we are in the midst of an argument with somebody, our neighbor, our brother, our sister, our spouse? What if we are in the midst of an argument? What if we think and remember Jesus is here? How does that change your perspective and your behavior, knowing that God is there with you? And God is the witness. God is seeing how you are building each other up or tearing each other down. That God is there witnessing your work towards reconciliation. Because remember what I said, if you are working towards reconciling with one person, you are participating in God's mission of reconciling the whole world. If you are there, and God's there with you, how does that change your behavior, your word choices, your ability to listen and hear one another? Back when I was in high school, one of the biggest things that everybody down in the Ozarks had were the little wristbands, and it said WWJD. Do you remember what that meant?
What would Jesus do?
What would Jesus do? Let's rethink that for a moment, because that's doing. That's good. What would Jesus do? What would Jesus do in this moment? But let's also think about, as we were remembering that God is with us at all times, what is Jesus hearing? What is Jesus seeing? Because honestly, at all times, we stand before the throne of God. So as we begin the new church year, the new church school year, and we have a lot of things going on, a lot of change, and where there is change, just like when there are 2 or 3 people gathered, there is also
Conflict.
it's a new school year. You got new students, new classmates, you got new teachers, which may be great, like Sarah Bristol, or you may get off on the wrong foot. I remember my first teacher, Miss Ackerman, in English, and everybody was scared of her. And she was a good Presbyterian woman, and she was very Calvinistic. She never smiled. But she was one of the best teachers I ever had when it came to literature and English, and why I eventually became a World Lit major in college. Because I also took the time to meet with her and talk with her and also get to know her, and I participated in the English club. Even though I was deathly afraid, she was the best teacher I've ever had. Brothers and sisters, remember that Jesus is always with you. Remember that part of your life's meaning and purpose is to participate in God's mission of reconciling the world to God's self. Every opportunity that you have, when you enter into a point of conflict, do not shy away from it, because conflict is not bad. It's how we deal with conflict that makes it bad or not. If you go into the conflict knowing that God is with you, that Jesus is watching and listening and hearing, and you go into it and know that there is something here to reconcile, then you will be a blessing to that person that you're talking with. You will be a blessing to this world. You, friends, are the repairers of the breach, as Scripture says. Be bold. Be courageous. Don't shy away from the conflict. Dive in and choose your words well. And may peace, the peace of Christ, which is beyond all human understanding, flourish out of that experience. God bless you now and forever. And praise be to you, O Christ. Amen.